Hey guys, it's Sate here from Sate.net. This is the video I'm making for my Darkmoon Faire guide. It basically just shows how I go through the auction house and buy different decks. So I've recorded a little bit of me doing that. The first thing I search for is decks, so just type in deck and have a look at how much the decks are going for. What you'll see here are rogues decks, which depending on how much you want to spend for each deck, you might want to pick up or not. I usually aim for anything under maybe 10 gold, and then you look at epic decks, and whatever your price is, I would usually buy everything under that. So if I set my price at 200 gold per deck, there's just the one Prisms deck there that I'd buy. If you're a little bit more desperate for decks, or you've got a little bit more gold to spend, you could maybe up that to 250 or 300. The next thing I do is search for rogues cards, so I just type in of rogues in the auction house box. As I said before, I would aim to spend maybe 10 or 11 gold per rogues deck. Have a look at the table I'm going to put up in the guide to get more of an idea how much to spend. So with rogues decks there is ace, 2 and a 3, so that basically translates into you being able to spend 3 or 4 gold per card. So any card you see that's cheaper than 3 or 4 gold, snap up. Then I do a quick check for of swords. You need 5 cards for those decks, ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can afford to spend a little bit less, but as you can see here, they're, at least on Shadow Song, they're a fair bit cheaper. Then I do a search for of demons, that's the other cheap deck. There's none today. Search for of mages, and as you can see there's a 5 of mages for 73 silver. None of the other ones I think are really that interesting, so the next thing I'll do is load up my bank alt mod. I'll include a link to that in the guide as well. I think I've referred to it in the Chandra guide. As you can see on my screen right now, I open that up and it shows me all the Darkmoon Faire cards I've got in my bank alt. I can open it up next to the auction house, which is really convenient. So what I've got there, the basic layout, I'm not sure if you can see it very well on this, but I've got all my Warlords cards, my Elementals cards, Prisms, Blessings, Undeath, Demons, and so on. And I can see they're all sorted out left to right, at least the ones on the left hand side of that bank are, from ace through to 8. So at a glance I can see if, for example, on Warlords I need an ace of Warlords. So I start doing a search for the missing cards, so 5 of Blessings. I can see there that there's a 5 of Blessings for 25 gold. So again, you work out how much you're going to spend per deck, and that roughly means that if you're building the epic decks, you can spend about 25 gold if you want to spend 200 gold a deck. So I go through the auction house searching for of Furies, of Blessings, of Storms, and I try and find the cheap cards to match my make up my decks. I also kind of, it helps to think ahead and have a look at, you know, if you've got one of almost all the Warlords cards, or 2 of all the Warlords cards, and only 1 8, buy up on an 8, so you've got two of all of them except the one you're missing, and so on. So just keep searching through all the decks you've got of Furies, of Storms, and that will give you a listing of all those cards in the auction house. So I'm searching now for of Beasts to search for an ace of Beasts. Some of the ace cards still these days sell for 200 plus. Some of them, Warlords is a good example. They sell dirt cheap, and you can pick them up for less than 10 gold sometimes. So it's just about not spending too much to build any particular deck, just spending less than your target, and building decks slowly over time. And if you're going for the insane title, that's what you're going to be doing anyway. You need to work up your Chandra and your Ravenholt rep and get them all to Exalted, so you've got time, and you can afford to have a look through the trends in the auction house for card prices throughout Darkmoon Faire and outside of Darkmoon Faire. One of the things I tend to notice is that cards actually get cheaper during Darkmoon Faire. I think it's because a lot of the herbalist inscriptors are farming herbs and milling them, and they're making their cards gambling to get nobles cards. When they don't get their nobles cards, they're selling the Chaos and Undeath cards on the auction house, and because so many people are doing it, it drives prices down a little bit outside of Darkmoon Faire. During Darkmoon Faire week. So as you can see here, I'm still buying up. Sometimes it's a pretty quick thing to do. Sometimes it takes 5 or 10 minutes for you to go through and have a really good look and figure out exactly how much you're going to spend. So I'm looking at Chaos cards now. This is what I was talking about just a second ago. I'm picking up some of the cards. 3 of Chaos there for 11 gold. And you can actually build a Chaos deck sometimes by spending 80 gold total, and even if you've already got the insane title and you're just looking at this out of interest, this is actually a pretty good way to make money as well. You spend 80 gold on putting together a Chaos deck and then sell it for 300 gold when the fair comes. It's not something that you're going to get super rich on super quick, but again, if you just do this once a day or twice a day, you're going to put together decks, and depending on how much you can afford to spend, you can do that on larger or smaller scales. So now, after I search for all the decks and all the aces and stuff that I want, I also again check the Darkmoon Faire table that I'm going to include in the guide with this. But I then search for Verdant Pigment and Hunter's Pigment Verdant Pigment and Hunter's Ink to make. I'll get to an inscriptor to make the Rogue's Dex cards. One of the things that's a bit of a grey area for a lot of people who are confused, and there's something I'm hoping to address with this guide, is you buying low level herbs. Is that worth it to put together Rogue's Decks compared to how much you want to spend, for the cards themselves, buying them outright? And what I tended to find was, yes, it was worth it, but only if you could get the low level herbs for less than about 10 gold a stack. So things like Bruiseweed, Swift Thistle, Major Oil, Strangle Kelp, and so on. So just check the auction house. Sometimes you'll pick up a cheap stack of herbs for 5 gold or something like that. Another really good tip is to have a look for people who are selling the herbs or the inks or the Rogue's Deck cards, and actually send them an in-game mail and just tell them you'll buy any they can put together for 5 gold each or for 3 gold each, and just get them to send them to you. That's about it for the video, guys. Just remember, you can do it relatively cheaply if you've got the time and patience.